Who is the best winless team out there? Oh, it's the Raiders. Okay, because they're the only winless team in the NFL at this point, and that's not bad.
On today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and the OCP team of correspondents recap NFL Week 3, share their thoughts on all the big matchups. Also, did Dr. Adams improve on his picks after a tough Week 2? Strictly for entertainment purposes only, of course, as well as previewing Week 4 of the NFL season. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams. My partner is on anniversary assignment, so we wish Mike and his lovely wife the best as they enjoy Florida before the hurricane comes. So I am looking forward to hearing those stories. But with me today is Chris Schauer, and the Raiders didn't do very well, but Chris still is a trooper, and he's on with us. And we may be joined in segment 2 by some other guests. But Chris, how are you doing today? And thank you for joining us.
I am doing fine. If you think about the Raiders starting off 0-3, I'm doing okay. Who is the best winless team out there? Oh, it's the Raiders. Okay, because they're the only winless team in the NFL at this point, and that's not bad. Okay, and we'll talk about more of that in the second segment. But
All right.
Good information about the Raiders.
Well, I do have my notes, but here are the games of interest that I had today, and I can't wait to get your commentary. Chris, are the Dolphins really good? That was a good win over Buffalo. So last week they beat the Ravens in some miraculous form. This week they beat a good Buffalo team. Are the Dolphins good? Tell me what you think, sir.
When you have your top 5 and you had Buffalo and Kansas City, and then Miami was kind of fell down a little bit, I would say Miami is not number 5, but they're probably number 3. I wouldn't put them above Buffalo, even though they beat Buffalo. I think Buffalo could beat them in the playoffs, and that makes Buffalo the better team for me. But Miami is a good team. They will destroy playoff hopes for some of the best teams out there in the AFC, I think. And that's all they're going to accomplish this year.
Well, we'll see where I put Miami in segment 3. Second thing, in my group chat with my friends, shout out fellas, especially superfan JJ, the question was, who had Indy? Indy beat KC, and in the beginning of the season, when we had our preseason episodes, I thought Indy would win the AFC South. I thought they were good enough. I thought Matty Ice was going to come in, do the job, all of that good stuff. And they laid 2 eggs early in the season, and then they go out and beat KC. Did you have Indy, sir?
I did not. That was, I was flabbergasted at that one. I mean, here's Indianapolis, 0 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie, right? Going up against Kansas City and Mahomes, who looked like he was some kind of Superman in week 1. It's like Mahomes had problems in week 2, and it definitely continued in this week. And I think we're seeing the Kansas City that I thought we would see at the beginning of the season. That is one that's been struggling because they keep sending away some of their best players and kind of rebuilding with younger folks. And I think this is finally catching up to them. Not to say that they're not going to take a division, not to say that they won't make the playoffs, but I think that we're going to be surprised from time to time throughout the season how Kansas City picks losses or loses a game on their behalf, because he definitely lost this with their defense this afternoon.
Yeah, I thought they quite frankly laid an egg. You can't lose that game, but it is the NFL. Three, Washington's just not that good.
No,
That was a bad performance, and man, and I can't even like overly blame Carson Wentz. He was on his back a lot. I think they had like 7, 8 sacks, and man, that just wasn't good. And the wideouts dropped passes too. So Carson's going to get a lot of heat locally, I'm sure. But man, there were some issues out there. Did you get a chance to see the Commanders game?
I did not
Uh,
watch. I did not watch any games except on trying to watch like GameCast on ESPN to see my Raiders. I was at Pottery this afternoon with my wife, but the yeah, good times. But let me tell you, the three undefeated teams: Miami, surprise. Okay, Philadelphia, not so much a surprise for you, but it's a surprise for me, and how decisively they're winning their games. And then the Giants, even though they play tomorrow, these guys, I mean, it's amazing to look at these teams and saying, okay, they're really as good as they appear on paper. It's surprising how they're gelling as teams.
Man, Washington's bad. They're just not very good. We have to watch them because they're the team that's on locally. Last game thought before I do my random thoughts. Brady and Rodgers. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers played in the national game of the week all day. They've been talking about number 12s and who's the best number 12, Roger Staubach, and everybody else was going on. But then there was the game itself. Um, man, we do have an opportunity to watch two great players, and I'll never disrespect their gameplay, not at all. But that was fun to just kind of sit back and watch. But then in terms of the game itself, Brady was on his back a lot, and they have to address that line. And we're week 3. That's gonna be a lot of hits. Any thoughts you have on Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, possibly for the last time in the regular season?
Okay, so I put in Twitter earlier, right? I said Brady versus Rodgers. I said I've been talking about this all season where Tom Brady is going to lose focus as we go throughout the season because he's going to be more concerned about his marriage and his family life. People don't believe me. Okay. He was focused for maybe 2 quarters last week, and today maybe 3 minutes. It was the last 3 minutes of this stupid game. He decided to wake up and throw some excellent passes and drive his team down there. And then boom, he came up short on the 2-point conversion. Okay. He wasn't focused. Mind you, yeah, he was on his back. He was running around. But Aaron Rodgers had something to prove, even if it was to himself, that this guy can win against a top caliber team without Adams. And he proved it.
Yeah, and looking at the standings, Tampa is currently still in first place in the AFC South, and Green Bay, Chicago, and Minnesota. I'm still laughing at that. They're all 2-1, and the Lions are 1-2. So, all right. So I've got some random thoughts, Kristen. Thank you for indulging me in this. First of all, Brett Favre. Um, there's not a lot of talk about this. And when I heard this story earlier in the week, in terms of the depth of the story, I knew there was something going on, but I actually took some time to really find out. So, fans, let me reset you on what's going on. What is he alleged to have done? According to court documents, Brett Favre was aided in getting the funding for a volleyball center at the University of Southern Mississippi from the Mississippi Department of Human Services. It came to light that the FBI interviewed Brett Favre over a $1.1 million speaking fee he received in 2017 and 2018 for talks he allegedly didn't perform. Favre paid back the fees, although not the $228,000 in interest that came from the federal welfare fund. He hasn't been charged in any wrongdoing. And the latest allegation is related to $5 million of misused welfare money to build a volleyball complex at the college, Southern Mississippi, where his daughter played. And that's not good. So, Chris, as educators, here's what typically happens. Companies have traditionally been quick to ditch sports figures like Cam Newton and Ryan Lochte over non-legal controversies. More recently, brands have abandoned Deshaun Watson and several other athletes for misgiving. In terms of the Brett Favre situation, here's some of the sponsors' reactions. Sirius XM has advertised Brett Favre's show as nothing has happened. Copperfit, Brett Favre has been a brand ambassador since 2014, and he continues to be featured on their website. Hallow is a Catholic prayer and meditation app announced in August that it had partnered with Favre. Favre's picture still appears on the website, but a mention of a text has been scrubbed. And Odyssey Health, which Favre has been involved in, has no longer listed him on the website. So none of this is good. And I am still baffled that this is not a national story. And I am not putting you on the spot or anything like that. I just want to know, has this story come across your desk? What, if anything, have you heard about it? Because I'm paused that Ame Udoka from Boston Celtics is getting raked across the coals for something that management should have kept private. And Brett Favre stole $5 million from people who need it, and nobody's kind of saying anything. So, uh, wanted to always give you the opportunity to react. If not, we will jump to the next story, sir.
No, I think this is awful. Okay. I don't like the fact that you have some people that are just, like you said, raked over the coals for doing something, and other people get to just skate free. Okay. $5 million is a lot, right? And that's basically what I heard. And I didn't do as much research as you did. And I think today it was something about $77 million of something going on totally on something. But I I'm appalled that it's not being covered by the national media. I'm appalled it's not even being covered by the sports media. This is something that's important. I think that we need to get to the bottom of it, and I think it's going to get really, really nasty the more people dig into it. And he knew better, but I think he felt that with his celebrityness, he could get away with it.
Yeah, and fans, just so you'll know, I do send out some show notes in advance, so nothing is like terribly blindsided. But I have been bothered by that, and several of people in my world have been bothered by that. So I definitely wanted to bring that up. And no, we're going to follow this case, and I think more stuff's going to come out this week because ESPN finally on their homepage, as of the taping, mentioned something very, very briefly, and now it is no longer on the main splash page. Let me see if it's on the home page. And nah, it's not on the home page anymore. Okay, so we're going to move forward. Uh, Last week, the Washington Post came out with a story that again caused my interest. The struggle is real, so I wanted to give some data. Black NFL head coaches regularly perform about as well as white NFL head coaches, yet face significant hurdles to getting and keeping their jobs, according to a Washington Post analysis. Um, this season, there are three black head coaches: Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Bucks, Lovie Smith of the Houston Texans, and the stalwart Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is the same number of black head coaches that were in 2003. So I'm paused by that. So, according to the Post, what holds black coaches back? Post identified several things, and it focused on the shortcomings of the Rooney Rule. Uh, so here's some highlights. One, many black coaches say they're given sham interviews. Two, in addition, teams have increasingly hired coaches who previously served as offensive coordinators or quarterback coaches. Yet from 1999 to 2021, 86% of the offensive quarterback jobs were filled by white coaches. Black coaches also languished as assistants and position coaches before becoming head coaches. The black men who became head coaches in the NFL in the past decade, on average, had spent more than 9 years longer than their white counterparts. Finally, even when they're hired, they're held to higher standards. Since 1990, a black head coach who wins at least 9 games and a white coach who wins at least 6 games have roughly the same chance of being fired. So again, not setting up my colleague here. Chris, I did send the show notes. I do not know if you subscribe to the Post, but have you seen the articles and any initial thoughts you might have?
I do not subscribe to the Post, and I have not read those articles, but I have lived life. Okay, and the Raiders have hired. They hired the first African American coach. They hired
Art Shell. Yes, indeed.
Hired the first Hispanic coach.
Tom Flores. Yes.
Yeah, and so it's like I don't understand. I mean, that was back in the 80s. And we're a good 40 years past this, and we're not past it. We haven't even begun the process, and it doesn't, Art Shell was a great man. He was a great leader. He was a great coach, and he was an offensive lineman. And organizations needed to take a chance on good players that have played their life with them. And they want to coach like Flores and Shell. And I don't understand why. This is, to me, this is systemic racism, just right there, right in your face, that we have so many players that could be coaches and we don't give them opportunities. And we definitely do not give them fair opportunities when we interview or when they get the job. It's just not fair.
Yes, indeed. And again, we will follow this, but on a much lighter note, fan behavior at sporting events. Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray said last week that he has no hard feelings. I'm using Chris as this example, towards the person who hit him in the face while he was celebrating the team's 29-23 overtime win versus the Raiders. Video of the altercation showed Murray celebrating with fans along the wall that separates the field and the field level boxes. Fans were hugging, grabbing at Murray, then the hand comes across Murray's face. Chris, what are y'all doing, man?
Oh, it was an accident. It had to have been an accident. The Arizona fans were pushing on his arm and stuff like that. No, come on. We lost. It was heartbreaking. Let the man celebrate his victory, for God's sakes. He was sleeping the first week. He finally woke up and he won the game. Just let him have his celebration. Let the fans have their fun, and we just go home and lick our wounds and hopefully come back another week and win. But that fan should be like gone. Not that he wants to come back and watch the Raiders, probably, but hey, we need to compose ourselves. We need to be sportsmanlike, and everybody stop throwing stuff on the field, stop throwing snowballs, stop attacking people. It's craziness. This world's crazy.
All right. Well, from that craziness, we're going to take a brief break and come back, and I'm going to tag off to Chris and find out today's best right here on the iCoaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes. The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. We're going to talk about today's best, today's biggest surprise, biggest disappointment, and what we should look for next week. So, Chris, what was the best thing you saw today?
Okay, to me, the best thing was Lamar Jackson. Again, the guy ran for 107 yards and a touchdown. He passed for 4 touchdowns. The man is unbelievable.
Pay the man?
Huh?
Pay the man? Is that what
Oh, yeah,
saying?
pay the man. Pay him. Big time. Get it over with. Lock him in. He needs to be a Raven for life.
All right. So, what was your biggest surprise today?
Oh, the Colts. The Colts, they didn't do anything spectacular, okay, against Kansas City. They had, what was it, like 1 sack, 1 interception. Matt Ryan threw for like 200 yards. I mean, it was nothing, okay, and they still beat Kansas City. So you can see that Kansas City is imploding on itself. For them to lose to a team that came in with 1 loss, 1 tie, and they had 2 wins. So something's going on in Kansas City that we really don't know yet, and we're going to find out.
Well, now you
and the
can't
Raiders
yell at.
And the Raiders are going to take them.
Can't yell at Matty Ice too much. He was 27 for 37, threw for 222. I had 2 touchdowns. It's not a bad night. It's not the worst night.
It wasn't spectacular though. I mean, he just does what he does.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by that. So I'm going to chime in after you. What was today's biggest disappointment?
Oh, okay. Here we go. Aside from my predictions, okay, well, for the week, it had to have been just Bear playing for the Chargers. Like, why did they put him out there? Okay, they need to rest the guy with his rib injury. They didn't need to risk him getting hurt anymore. I think it aggravated his condition, and it's just going to make it worse for them. That's number 1. Number 2, my Raiders offense, play calling specifically. And I got some statistics here on the Raiders. Okay, here's how awful they are. They were 5 of 11 tries on third down efficiency in week 1. Then they improved that to 3 and 13. The wrong way improvement. They only converted 3 third downs into first downs out of 13 attempts in week 2. And this week, how many do you think they converted into first downs? 1. Okay. They have a 25% efficiency on making first downs if they go to third down. Okay. It's the play calling that the Raiders have problems with. And that's my biggest disappointment, aside from the Chargers playing their quarterback.
Well, I definitely want to chime up in here because this story has just come across the wire as we're taping Sunday, fans. So we do miss the Sunday night game and we do miss the Monday game. But the NFL Players Association has told the NFL it wants to initiate a review of the league's concussion protocols following Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa return to the game against Buffalo. I saw the film. I don't know if you saw it, Chris, but Tua, as they said in the old days, got his bell rung and was definitely staggered. So he left the game after hitting the ground hard late in the first half. Team announced at halftime that he was questionable to return with a head injury. He completed an 8-yard pass after scrambling out of pocket, and Bills linebacker Matt Milano pushed him after the throw. Quarterback stumbled backwards, hit his head. He was flagged for roughing the passer. Tua was slow to get up. and then he fell as he tried to walk back to the huddle. The protocol involves a 6-step process that tests the players for any no-go sign, a video review of the play, and a review of concussion signs. And it just didn't look like they went through the process. So I've got to say that was my biggest disappointment, was pretty much that, is that, man, winning is wonderful and all of that, but we're talking about health and safety protocols and you're not following them. So, one, did you see the play? And two, any thoughts?
I did see the play, and I think that what's going to happen is they're going to actually go through the 6 steps now that the game's over, right? And they're going to determine that he does have a concussion, and that this could jeopardize him playing in Thursday's game.
Yes, and that was the tag. So, what do you think we should look for next week? Because that was one of my look fors.
Okay, so we have some key significant injuries, okay, that could impact games. We have Dalvin Cook in Minnesota that may be out. We have Tua that could have a concussion, maybe out of Thursday's game. Josh Allen says, "Don't worry about my hand." Okay, I love when quarterbacks say, "Don't worry about something."
Don't forget Patriots guy Matt Jones.
Oh yeah, Mac Jones.
Mac Jones
is out. AJ Green came out of the game for Arizona. Boza and Slater might still not be able to play next week for the Chargers. Not to worry about that. They're playing Houston, but some of these are significant injuries that could impact some games. And you have San Diego that does. I mean, I want to keep calling them San Diego. To me, they're always going to be San Diego Chargers. But if you have a defense that's kind of hobbling around, you got a quarterback that insists on playing with an injury, you're going to have some problems. So Chargers better just pass it off to some backups and hope for the best. There's a lot of division games that I'm looking at. Let's see, Tennessee plays Indianapolis, right? We have Washington against Dallas. We do have Denver against the Raiders. Yeah, my team gets to come back. If they don't, I'm done. Then we have some good games, some 2-1 teams. Kansas City is going to play Tampa, unless I guess the hurricane destroys Tampa Bay Stadium. Jacksonville plays Philadelphia, even though Philadelphia's not 2-1, they're 3-0. And Chicago gets to play against the Giants. I think these are some significant games that we need to look at, because this is going to decide it within a division and within a conference where some of these standings are going to be. But I'm not really worried about the Raiders. Let me tell you about the Raiders, because this is something else to look for. The Raiders have 2 more weeks before their bye week. Mm-hmm. So they're like hobbling into the bye week, their early bye week. They play Denver next week, and then they play Kansas City. Okay. They could easily go into their bye week 1-4.
Wow.
Okay. Then look at who they have to play after that. Houston, New Orleans, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Denver, Seattle, Los Angeles Chargers, the Rams, the Patriots, and the Steelers. Okay. They could easily come out of the bye and all those going into the final 2 weeks of the season, maybe 9-6, possibly 10-5.
Well, we'll definitely be looking for that. And my look for is, will Tua play? That is the thing I want to see more than anything, as well as being a local guy to the Washington metropolitan area. Dallas week is always Dallas week. So no matter what the records are, Katie Bartador is going to be a Pier Sixer, and we're going to Pier Six it right to our break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only on the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project's academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA learning specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, strictly for entertainment purposes only, we're going to talk about our top 5. So, Chris, I am going to buck the trend, sir. The number 1 team in the OCP top 5, Miami Dolphins. They beat Baltimore on the field, and they beat Buffalo on the field. Now, again, it's week 3. Next week, I'm sure they'll lose and they'll be out of it. But we only have 2 or 3 teams, and after the end of this week, it will be no more than 3 teams that are undefeated. So the 72 Dolphins, those who are still with us, are popping champagne somewhere because there's only going to be 3 undefeated teams left, and nobody's going to run the table. So I have the Dolphins at 1. I have the Eagles at 2. Rams at 3, Green Bay with their victory over Tampa Bay at 4, drop Buffalo to 5 on the outside looking in, Ravens, Kansas City. Any thoughts, sir?
Well, I still have Buffalo number 1.
Okay.
Even with the loss to Miami, I still think Buffalo can take Miami in the playoffs, and that's all that matters at the end. It doesn't matter if you beat them during the season. Okay. I still think the Eagles are number 2. Surprise, but Eagles number 2. I put Miami as 3, and then the Rams at 4, Kansas City at 5, and then I have Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Baltimore, the Giants, all those guys looking in, saying, hey, when do I get to be in the top 5?
No Giants. They're going to lose. Sorry, Mike. King, that is. All right, so we're going to go to our picks of the week, and if you follow us on social media at Odd Coaches, you will see them posted prior to. And Chris also posts picks that we like to retweet and share. So last week was a bad week. I was 0-5, dropped $50. This week I was 3-2, and I'm plus $10.90. And overall on the season, I'm 5-10, 50%, and I am down $49.75. So what did I have this week? I had the Bengals -5. Got that. I had under for the Texans and the Bears. Under 40, they scored 43. I don't know where they got 43 points from, but hey, that's why they call gambling. My 2 play of the week were the Ravens and the Eagles. Nailed those 2. 3 play of the week, Chargers. What are we doing? Rams and the Vikings. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, except when you're betting. And my money line pick, you can't make Aaron Rodgers an underdog and not think I ain't going to take $10 and keep it moving. So again, Chris, how did you do today, sir? Because you did some posts. How did yours go?
I have my big 4, right? I said, Buffalo will take over Miami. Loss. Okay. I said Cincinnati won't be able to cover against the Jets. Loss. Okay. I did say that Jacksonville would beat up on the Chargers, and that was a win. And I did say Green Bay would take over Tampa Bay, and that was a win. And then I kind of did the wins losses for the rest of the games and did fairly well. Like nine wins and like 5 losses, something like that so far. So it wasn't that bad, but it's a little bit different from the way that you do it. But I look for specific things in specific games and try to say whether or not a team will cover or not.
Yes, indeed. So this is something that's come out of COVID. So we are really going to take the long play throughout the season. So again, 5-10. That's not 50%. What am I talking about? That is still very low. My math is off. Sorry, Deacon. Let me do that again. That goes into 15, and that is 33%. And I'm still not where I want to be. All right. So for the season totals, Pittsburgh's not helping me out. They've got 1 win. Jacksonville, we took the over 6.5, and Jacksonville's already at 2 wins. So that looks like a good play. So where Pittsburgh right now doesn't look like a good play, Jacksonville looks like a good play. Buffalo over 11.5. They're at 2 wins. We'll let that play out a little bit. Took the Chargers over 10 wins. Not a good loss today, but we'll see how that happens. Minnesota over 9. I'm thinking Minnesota's going to rock that thing. New Orleans over 8. Crab Legs only has 1 victory. Philadelphia's over 9. They're already at 3, so that looks like a good play. And San Francisco just over my shoulder is about to kick off. We'll see how that works. Week 4 games to watch for our fans. Washington, Dallas is going to be a big one. Jacksonville, Philadelphia. Doug Peterson goes back to where he won a Super Bowl. So that's something we should pay attention to. Buffalo at Baltimore. Somebody's going to go down the hole a little bit early in the season. Got to have Denver and the Raiders for our colleague here. Kansas City at Tampa Bay. Somebody's going to lose 2 straight. And, of course, Rams 49ers. Shout out to Fowler and Campbell. Any final words, Chris, as we conclude week 3 and transition to week 4?
No, I would worry about your Pittsburgh 7.5, over 7.5. Unless teams can stay under 15 points against them. I think they might have a win next week, though. Don't they play somebody that's not so good? I can't remember who they play.
It's okay. I'm going to look that up.
And then the other one is the Chargers. I'm really worried about them. They need to rest the quarterback. They have a real easy 4 or 5 games now. They could just let him sit, and they won't.
No, Pittsburgh plays the New York Jets.
There you go. See, the Jets won't score 15 points.
No. So, all right. So, Chris, thank you so much for filling in for my tag team partner, Coach Francis. Again, happy anniversary. We've got a new spot. And again, over the next few weeks, not next week, fans, but over the next few weeks, we're going to have a nice background. We've got some Dr. Adams memorabilia that I've been sharing. Hey, we even got our CKA cards back. So on behalf of Chris and my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.